So let's get started. So I just wanted to show you here the Canvas setup. So final presentations are going to be on the 12th at 7:40. And just show up, and we're going to do them alphabetic by last name. And I think we'll be done on the 12th. So today I have 2 lectures. I thought it's best to give you the last segment of the class, just lab. Today we have 2 lectures to cover. On Wednesday, open lab, Mark will be here as well to help. And then on the 12th, final presentations. Okay, questions, comments, concerns?
For assignment 10, it says research a WordPress plugin.
Right.
How do we sort of present that as part of our assignment?
So did you do the huge IT gallery? So this would count. This would be a plugin. Or you can.
Would the slider count?
Yeah. So anything that you incorporate from this ready-made, it would be considered a plugin.
Oh.
So you'll be okay.
What if you just I have share buttons that I got from a widget? Is that?
So anything that someone else developed and then you include in without having to write the code is considered a plugin.
Okay.
Right. That would be fine.
Okay.
So these are all plugins.
So do we need to somehow indicate that in our assignment?
Not indicate, but when you present to and share with the class, you say this is my plugin. And I also usually, I will have a couple questions for you to answer. So basically the questions have to do with lessons learned, what went well, what could I have done better, what maybe could have happened better in the class. And we'll be done. And maybe I'll see you on Thursday at Mike's happy hour with Charlie's on 15th. What, green line? Yeah, okay. So that's strictly CSS. That's, I'm glad that it's working, but it's all that CSS stuff that comes back and haunts us.
Now I have to figure out how to get the child links to not show, like the drop down.
Okay, so we can maybe look at it again, but I'm let this work. Yeah, it's a pretty easy fix. Okay, so let me start the screen share. So the first topic for tonight, two topics, and they're going to correspond to chapter 17 in the book. Okay, so we have already used shortcodes. In fact, if you included the huge IT gallery, for example, use shortcode to make that happen. And so what is the shortcode? Essentially, it's a predefined function that is in a simple format that you can then add to the admin site, right? And then normally we use shortcodes for such items as adding content. So, for example, you can add a piece of content just by a shortcode. So it's very convenient. And it's also convenient for the admins because they can add, you can also actually make it be, have functionality, but an admin will just include a shortcode and then include the functionality. And in this class, as you know, you have played the role of both the admin and the developer, right? Sometimes those might be separate. Maybe you develop a theme and then you post it to the WordPress registry, and then someone else becomes the admin. So I showed you the site that my friend, which is a WordPress site, so he's an admin now. And the site was supposed to be completely 100% working, no problem, with $200 a year. And that is not exactly the case. but the rows can be separated or they can be one and the same. So here is an example of a shortcode that I would like you to add to your class, to your theme rather. For example, let's say that you have a site where you give legal advice. You have an attorney or a lawyer. Sorry, just a second. You have a lawyer who posts blogs about, I don't know, tax advice or whatnot. And so it's common to have a disclaimer in a case like this so that you can be sued if you follow the advice and something doesn't work. And so you can create a legal disclaimer in the form of a shortcode and then add it. And so again, so far you have, how many of you use the shortcode with the huge IT gallery or anything else? One? Okay, I thought more of you did, but that's okay. So you can use the shortcode and then maybe it's worthwhile to go back to the short IT gallery and show you where you get it. So you need to have an indication how to copy it and then paste it in the place in the theme where you want it to appear. Or you can write your own. So this is the example of writing your own. And I'd like you to do this as we go along. It's actually not very complicated. So it's going to go in your functions.php file. So please open your functions.php on your theme that is up right now. You can open it in the editor, in the WordPress editor. And then go ahead and add the line, add shortcode. This line here, disclaimer, legal disclaimer.
Is there a way to keep your functions file organized? Like, how do you decide where?
So that's a great question. The main thing is to add comments, I think, where you can say what, you can separate and organize your functions with the comments. So you just give a few, you can just add it before the closing tag, that should work fine. So add shortcode, this is a WordPress.
And it doesn't matter where in the functions you add it.
It shouldn't matter because you just call it from here, just output it maybe after everything else. Just don't put it inside something else.
Is it like that?
You're just not everything in it?
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah.
And so this is add shortcode is a WordPress function. So let's take a look before we continue. And so again, this is a function. It's going to take a couple arguments, as you can see. Disclaimer and legal disclaimer. Let's take a look at the documentation and then we'll continue and finish up our shortcode function. And the description says that add this as a hook for a shortcode tag. It's going to take, so here are the arguments and you can tell me what they do. The first is the tags, the shortcode tag to be searched in the post content. And then the second one is a hook to run the shortcode when the shortcode is found. So the second one is going to be the name of the function, basically. Okay, so you're going to associate the shortcode tag with the function that you're going to write to execute the code. So that's what is the significance of add shortcode. Right? Does this make sense? All right. So we'll go back here. And so you have added the shortcode, and now, because this is our own shortcode, you need to create the legal disclaimer function, which is, in this case, the legal disclaimer is another function, and as you can see here, it's going to correspond, right? So you're going to associate the function with the shortcode string tag. And so you're going to create a function, which in this case is just going to return some HTML markup, and then the disclaimer about the mock lawyer practice. And this code needs to go above the add shortcode function, right? Because the shortcode function will be calling it. So you have to put it up here, right? In the functions PHP. So add the following lines, and what they do is they're going to return this text formatted with a small HTML tag, right? So it's a function, it has the parents, and then this is the block of code associated with it.
So you do the function and then you add the shortcode thing underneath that.
Yeah, so the shortcode is another function. So now we're going to have our own, this is our own function or your function that you're writing. And then the WordPress function is going to call your function. Just, just good old fashioned PHP function. So let me, no, just going to log in. Let's see, so here's what it looks like in my functions PHP, this theme. So you just add it at the very bottom here. Right? So everyone has this now? Almost, okay. Is it easier to see it from here or from the other page? No response.
I think there is fine.
There is fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
either way is fine.
At this time, everything is fine. Right? We can just get it
Right.
done. All right, so let me know when everyone is caught up with this one. And then make sure to update the file. Just add.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, so what next? Next, you need to implement the shortcode by adding the disclaimer to any content. So you can add it anywhere. And then the content between the square brackets is going to be the name of the shortcode that you created here. So in our case, it's going to be disclaimer. Whatever name you give it here, this becomes the name of the shortcode. And then let's say I added it actually inside the post itself. And this is how you add it. It's going to be in square brackets and then the word disclaimer, right? And then go ahead and in any post, anywhere, go ahead and add the word disclaimer.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Did it work?
It worked.
Yay.
Yeah, Okay, cool.
Great. And then after you add it, then the result will be
Putting the
that your page should display the communicating advice, voice consult, and appointment. And the syntax then for adding a shortcode is the shortcodes inside the
Yeah. Yes, it should.
inside the square brackets, and that's
Oh, how do you style?
well, you could add some inline style from the before you return it as one option. You could give it a class.
Oh, right.
Did this work for everyone? Not yet.
break my.
Are you trying to make it work, Eric? It's not
Yeah.
working.
It gave me an error.
Okay. That's good. Good news. Oh, you give an error. Give some.
Content.
It's good.
So, first movement was.
Okay. So you just get some next question.
Oh. Weird. I don't know. Space or plus
Stories. You know that you can use the word plus which is not enough. You know how to use it?
Yeah, I've just gotten used to brackets, but
I don't want the word plus Oh,
I'm working on it.
so there is environment that is okay.
still good.
So I say
Yes. Should the quotes be after the small? Oh, funny. I just got it.
yeah, looks like there was some, try this one.
Weird. Okay.
Sometimes this happens.
Yeah. See that.
Yeah.
I start.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want my content. My content.
Oh,
No.
well, did you change your name?
Yeah, I make a new one, but I try to make,
We need to know how to distinguish.
you know, take
Yeah.
long time.
How did you get your, how
Menu.
did you get it to,
Yeah.
wait, when you click on a different page, so click on one of them,
Stable,
when you go to that page, does it,
stable. Over, please, right? Not yet.
oh, yeah, the hover,
Yeah, the hover.
Yeah.
But, you know, before I even went to Japan, I don't have to get my header navigation. Now I'm lost. Can take a look at my code and place my contents and so.
So did it work, this particular task? What are you showing here?
Because my content is not so, I'm sorry.
That's, right now I'm trying to get.
My content is not so, I
Nothing.
can't try this.
Okay.
That's what is happening.
I thought you said you fixed it. Something happened just now. What was the last thing you did to cause this to happen? Here's what we'll do. Let me continue with the lectures.
Okay, yes.
And then I'll come back and
Yes.
because it's for if it's the whole
Yes.
the entire content, it might take a little bit of time to figure out why. All right. So let's take a look at the since only it looks like only one student actually integrated the plugin. Well, or maybe you didn't. In any case, so if we go back to let's see here to the huge IT gallery. It's a general option, so I always forget. What was it? Galleries. So for the huge IT gallery, so I have one gallery, and then right here it tells you, so you can see now someone else wrote the shortcode, and they're telling us here, copy and paste the shortcode. So you can copy and paste it directly, and this is what, this looks exactly like what we did. This one actually also has an argument you're passing, the ID of one, but it's the same idea. You can see how the huge IT gallery is using a shortcode. And you can also copy and paste this code into a template to include the slideshow within your own theme. But we just saw a couple examples. This is someone else providing the shortcode, or we can write our own, but it's extremely convenient way to add content just with online. So these are shortcodes. And then if you're using someone else's plugin, they should have documented somewhere the name of the shortcode. And you just look for it and then you include it. All right. So in addition to, oh, and also you should know that practically you can add as many shortcodes as you want. Right. So you can have many different shortcodes on your page.
How do we find the shortcode for widgets?
Well, for galleries, what I did is it's somewhere on there, and
You
I
just have
didn't
to look
remember
for it.
exactly. So I first looked in the options, it wasn't there, and then I looked in the galleries. And if you take a look here, you know, just like it wasn't on Gather Place, so go on Photo Gallery 1, and here it is. So it will be somewhere.
It's not going to necessarily be exactly the same for every widget.
It will not be probably. There is no convention. So if you can't find it, you may need to consult the documentation. That's the thing about plugins, right? But generally, I prefer to just try to find it instead of read documentation. Okay, and then custom functions. So in addition to shortcodes, the other addition to your programs you can do is you can write your own custom functions. We have been calling all these functions from WordPress, but nothing prevents you from writing your own as well. And as we know from our PHP class, if you're using code, if you're writing the same code on more than one place, then this snippet of code is a candidate to become a function. And then you can refactor it and then put it in a function, in the functions PHP file, and then call it. So you can do the same within WordPress. And if you write your own functions, then they would be added in functions.php. And I have included here an article I would like you to take some time to read that includes a list and code snippets of some common custom functions. So in what cases might you want to write your own functions? Maybe you're wondering, I don't even need any. Well, if you can't think of any, or even if you can, take a look at this example here, several examples rather. It's a blog post on creating a WordPress functions Bible. And snippets to get you started. So I'd like you to do some reading, and if you keep on scrolling down, you'll see options and the code that corresponds to it. Okay? So take some time to read over this article, please.
I
And then you tell me which
yes, I
custom
changed
function is the one that you might be most interested in using.
as I change back and say I have a extra bracket.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back and look.
So you say you did not change anything, just scrap it, right?
But actually, Eric had a problem with the, I think it's the same thing here.
It's like
The quotes seem to have been changed now. So do that
just like
one,
this,
and then the same there. I think we might do the
same
same
format.
So and date. If the copy and paste changed it.
Yes.
I think
Is
it
it?
might fix it. Okay, let's take a look.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yes.
Great. Wonderful.
So I need to paste that shortcode to the
So
The
paste
editor.
this, so the short code being in our case is going to be the word
Yes.
disclaimer. You just put it in any blog post you have, anywhere, and then you should see the
Anywhere.
words.
yes, got it. You don't have like because I didn't. So any page,
On any post,
any post. Okay. Yes. I got it. Thanks.
great.
know we're reading County Redwood Houses is how that. Yes. Yes.
You guys still reading all this?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the custom functions? Do they seem useful? Which one do you think you'd use? Eric?
A couple of them seem useful. The security for one. Which, let me find that again. The version number removal.
Yeah. Where was that? It's just a one-liner as well, so it's pretty nice. Anything else that you might want to use? Turn off your phones, guys. Sorry about that.
Changing the admin screen, even though it's kind of like maybe a little trivial, it seems kind of cool.
But it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Strict authors to edit only their posts and media.
All right. Limiting content to a certain number of words seemed maybe useful as well, or length. Yeah. All right, so these are all, you can add them to your own functions PHP and use them. And there are many other articles as well, and you can certainly write your own. So there is a lot you can do here. All right, so shortcodes or custom functions, well, it just depends. You know, as I often say, what you want to do, what you need to do. So there are different tools for different jobs. But shortcodes are pretty useful for displaying content. They give the admin access to this functionality in a very easy way. So they just all the admin needs to know how to do is to put a shortcode in. That's very convenient. And then the custom functions will be actually added within the theme files. So maybe almost the way we think about widgets and plugins, it's not one-for-one analogy, but functions might do something behind the scenes rather than display content, right? So if it helps you, you can think about it like that, loosely speaking, not always. All right, so this was the lecture on shortcodes and custom functions. And before, this is the last thing to talk about. Let's see. If this works here. I think I have the wrong link, so I'm sorry, just give me 1 second here. fix the links later, but okay, so we'll just have our last discussion will be a conceptual discussion about, well, not just conceptual, but the concepts that would guide you as you ensure the responsive integrity of your site. And first of all, a lot of what you do with your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is going to affect how much your site is responsive, right? So you can do a lot here, but ultimately it will be only so it's only going to result in a partially responsive design. Has any one of you tackled making your site, your team responsive? Can you share your experience before I continue, please?
It pretty much worked just fine, basically the same like a static site would. The issues that I had was with images.
Okay.
And I ended up using a plugin for the images. And I can show you when I present, but essentially the problem with that is that specific function and plugin only works on what the viewport is at that moment, and it doesn't change. So if it resizes, the image stays. For example, if you had a big viewport and when you're on the small one, the image won't change. But if you loaded the page on a phone, the image would change.
Because the viewport changed.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there is really no perfect solution there, but you solved your problem with a plugin.
Right.
And maybe it's interesting to put if you're pretty happy with a plugin, you can put.
Yeah.
You want to put something in
So
the
then that
discussion.
means if you're looking at your phone and then you turn it that way, the image won't.
The image will not change. Right. And so, but I mean, very few people are resizing their viewport anyway, but it is something that doesn't act the same way as it would if you were just doing.
Found resolve that issue, or
no, the plugin just so before the plugin, even if you did use CSS and tried to give your image, responsive value or width, it wouldn't work. It just was the same. So it inherited because if you have for example, if you had a featured image and you had it as the size you declared in your function, when you put a thumbnail in and you have a size, it pulls from that and it does that no matter what. So yeah, but if you load it on your phone with this particular plugin and you have to add a function as well, it will use that size.
maybe use a shortcode here for the responsive?
Maybe. I didn't know about any of that until now.
So can you use shortcode and
Well, a plugin is a pretty good solution. Actually, one of the points of the lecture is that there is really no perfect solution to responsive images in WordPress. So that's one of the takeaways. We're about to arrive, and it looks like you arrived at it independently as well. So, all right. So you need to plan, and certainly the more you plan ahead, then the better off you are. But what you should plan around is the fact that WordPress by default uses a pixel base for width and height. So it's inherently not responsive. So you have to work against WordPress in this sense. So, but knowing this, I guess I would like you to remember, so at least you know this is why things are the way they are. And so you can account for certain things, but not for everything. And then in addition, the admin can make changes, and you have no control over ultimately what the admin might change. Okay? So that's just one of these imperfect situations as of now. One thing you can do though is to provide documentation or speak with your admin, probably with documentation, so that the admin knows how the theme is structured, and they can try to add content in a way that doesn't break or facilitates responsive layout. Right? One thing you can do is you can use some pre-built non-WordPress code, such as a PHP model detect, and this would allow you to detect different screen sizes and changes. So that's another link for us to go to. Take a look here. So mobile detect, it's a popular script, the class that detects different mobile devices, including tablets. And so you need to include it by require once. And you guys remember now what this means, correct? Does anyone know what require once means, Eric?
The function call require the function from the other file.
It's going to require the current script you're in is going to require that mobile detect PHP is included here. If mobile detect is not there, it will not proceed, it will give an error. That's what the require function does. And require once means it only needs it to be included once, right? And then you said if, look at this is so timely, yeah? Said you want to walk us through line 3 and 4 and 6 and
I will try.
I think you can.
So this is saying that the variable detect is a new object of mobile detect.
Right.
And then 6 is saying if the variable,
You can call it an object now if you want.
okay, if the object is mobile, then perform.
Or, yeah, so we are calling a method this mobile on the object.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, basically that's what it is. But, so, okay.
So that method, and then if that's the case, then it'll perform what's in
Do
the,
something.
yeah.
Or established, so it has those methods. So again, this is exactly like the example we use the crypt for those of you who are in the PHP class, right? We the details are encapsulated, and all you have to do now is call these methods. So that's so much cleaner and nicer because it's using the class and object-oriented.
And are we essentially coding styles, more or less, in those functions? Or in those?
Just size.
Probably, if you're trying what goes in here, you could, we have an example where what you could do is you could say just remove all certain content for responsive. I mean, it would be the same steps you take in Web 110 and 120, right? What you do is you make the width, what do you do to make a site responsive? The content has to probably go instead of floated next to each other to take up the entire width, 100%. The images have to be scalable. The pixel size have to be scalable, so it becomes the same things you have to do otherwise, right?
So I'm just looking right now at the little bit of code that I put in with the plugin, and it does say it's similar, and it says like if is mobile, then use the post thumbnail with a certain size that I had already done in the dashboard, and if not, or it says then else, do the featured image size, which is also done in the dashboard. So basically, it's kind of similar the way that it's working. Mine's just for images though, not for the whole site.
And your plugin did that for you. You didn't.
So the plugin allowed me in the dashboard to declare custom, like without doing it the way we did in class through the functions PHP, sizes and naming them. So I did a featured image size, which would show on the main single post. And then if it was mobile, I wanted that size to just be the thumbnail size, which would fit on a phone. So I said that else would be the featured image size.
And did you set your sizes in pixels or in
They're in
percentages?
pixels in the dashboard.
But they're pre-calculated for different device sizes.
Right.
And that's a great approach to it, I guess. Well, yeah, that's great, yeah.
Just try to keep it simple.
So maybe, I guess let's make sure we will go over your presentation to take time to show the code for this. Sounds like it would be interesting. Okay, and then you can exclude, if it's not tablets and it's not phones, so here is the logical way. just have it in elastic. You don't want it. Or if it's a mobile but not a tablet, then you do something else. So these are just different conditions you set up. And you can also check if it's iOS or Android. So it's a pretty nice plugin. And I don't know if some of you wanted to try it at this point, but it's there.
It's very,
And you
don't
can
just
check
use it.
browsers and so on. So it's pretty, maybe even more than what you need, right? And it even gives you an option to go through the for each object loop. And then you can iterate through all of the different possible choices here. And so on. All right. So the name of this plugin, it's really a script, it's not really a plugin, right? Because you have to add the code. So I would call it a script, I guess. It's mobile detect. And the name of the one you used is? It's okay if you don't remember.
Let me see, I have it.
And we can just look at it real quick, in fact.
It doesn't show up like a regular plugin. It goes into your settings. It's called Mobile, but spelled MOBBLE. And the description says conditional functions for detecting a variety of mobile devices and tablets.
Did you Google for that?
Mm-hmm. It's MOBBLE.
That's not it?
No.
MOBB.
Yeah. Oh, no I. Is there an I?
Yeah, no, I.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is it not
I
showing?
don't know why it's not showing.
Well, maybe you can
Yeah.
pause the discussion if you have the energy at this point.
Oh, yes.
Did you find
I
it?
found it.
You just type in Marvel.
Yes.
You
Okay.
can look at it in the dashboard as well.
Marble, nothing else.
Yeah, Google Marvel.
There it
Like a
is.
Star Trek. Marvel.
And it can do a lot more than I use it for. I just wanted to keep it simple, just for those images. So
So yeah, so here is installation notes.
it had a lot of good ratings and a lot of downloads, so that's why I
Right.
used it.
And it requires 3 or higher. Now it looks like you did a good research here. You followed. Upload it to your plugins directory, activate it.
Mobile.
Mobile. Yep. Mobile.
Mobile.
I guess it's mobile, not mobile.
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 Here's the code snippet. Let's see if we can see this. So if it's not mobile, there's the pages, else. If it is not mobile, just put a little link to list the pages or little, well, and otherwise create a form. Okay. Loading different navigations for mobile and desktop. Okay.
Oh, isn't list of pages, that would be your nav, right?
Yeah. All right. So that's definitely something to look at some more. Thanks for the set.
And it doesn't have a if you guys are planning on using it, it doesn't have like a item in the side dash, like the sidebar of the dashboard. You have to go to settings, media, and that's where all the workings of it.
Yeah.
So
So
if we have to go looking for it again.
so you mean this
Settings
down
media.
this one we don't have to do a lot of media.
Yeah, so you have to go into media to find it.
Oh.
It's not just going to be right there on the side like the IT gallery and other stuff. But it's pretty. The plugin itself is pretty good about explaining that
Oh,
in
okay.
their documentation. So
Lest you never find it again.
yeah, so if you really get stuck, they have to do a good job. All that.
All right. So, oh, and actually, speaking of navigation, that's something else that you need to redo based on different sizes of the screen, right? So that will change as well. So navigation, you need to hide content, and so on. And override some static attribute that do not change. You can also write your own or work with the model detect to add shortcodes to manage the content. So we have already, I think, established that that's very convenient and easy to do. And that will certainly be able to take use of it. So if you wanted to create a shortcode to wrap around the mobile, detect so that it's optimized for mobile devices, you could add the following code to your functions PHP. You create your object, and then you're going to call, if it's mobile, then return the content, and otherwise not. Sorry, if it's not mobile. So in other words, the following snippet is going to hide the content, certain content, if it is mobile, because you generally display less on mobile, right? So if there is a content you want to hide, then you just only return it if it is mobile. If
So
it's
when it
not
has
mobile.
the little arrow though, that's not saying like, that's the method of the, just to go back to PHP, that's the method, not saying like is or isn't something.
No, so, okay, so this is going to say if exclamation point meaning
So
not.
is not,
No.
yeah.
If it's not, and then not is going to operate on this entire expression here. And so if it's not, so detect is the name of the object. And this object calls the method is model. This model is going to be returning true or false. Is it model or not?
Got it,
So
okay,
if it's not model, then return this content.
got it.
And that's very elegant because that's all you do. And then in any other case, it's not going to return anything and you're done.
Right,
So it's
Okay.
a nice one-liner, and it's only going to work if it's not model. Very
Is there a reason that it's if not detect is mobile instead of if detect is not mobile?
Yeah, so this is a one, you can't put it here because you have to call the method on the object. So this is one entity, you can split this up. To give you syntax there.
That whole thing is.
This whole thing is one thing because
Okay.
this model is only available to the detect object.
Oh, okay.
You can't call it otherwise.
It would almost be like if you put the exclamation point in front of is mobile, would be like that's a different method,
It
wouldn't
would
it?
be an error because then it's disconnecting the
Doesn't-
object from the method. So that would simply
Because you
not
could
come
only
up.
get to is mobile through detect.
Exactly. That's right. And then you can create your shortcode, no mobile, team no mobile, and then you can just put the no mobile shortcut where you want to display no mobile. And then you can also, so this is what it looks like Seth was working with, and he had a good solution with a plugin, but you have to override some WordPress markup to make it responsive, because as we discussed, the WordPress pixel size is in pixels, so that's not it's not a relative unit. It's a fixed pixels is a fixed unit of measure, right?
So you're not supposed to use else in like.
I did.
And so, or you could. So this is, it's not considered a good practice, but you could change it like that. And so the reason you would not want to do it is because you just don't know what the admin will do. So you have to do assumptions about the admin. I mean, it might work, but the admin might change it in a way that your RAMs are no longer functioning as you thought they would. But it is a possibility. That's certainly an approach. Just hard code the width to percentages RAMs. Right? Or you could use JavaScript to remove the attributes, and you will see a little snippet here of code of that. Or you could even do something like test the image size against the parent. And this can get complex, and also it's still not perfect because you just don't know what the admin might do. But here is a snippet of JavaScript that is going to use the actually jQuery, that is going to remove the width and height attribute from an image, and then replace the width with 95% with percentages which are relative. So take a look and see if you remember.
You can just put that in your functions.
Well, this is this function is jQuery.
Oh, so it'd be a
But
script.
then so the script would need to be added through the head. I don't know if I put this
Okay.
here. Or you can put it, actually what you do is put it in your own JS file, upload the file, and then include this file to the header.
Right.
Right.
Cool. Okay.
So, and then
Yeah.
this should take care of it. Right. So, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. So if you'd like to spend, so it's going to be lab time for the remainder of the class. There is another example that you might want to give a try with the shortcodes where it actually passes attributes as well. And this would be page 224. Add functionality to the shortcode by giving the user admin ability to pass parameters to the function, right? So the idea is that it's pretty much very similar, and you're all comfortable probably with arguments, but just creating a short, when you say add shortcode, you can actually pass it some arguments to be used in the function. So if you'd like, try this example, but we have a lot of time now. You can ask your questions. So, no questions, comments? Everyone got this to work? It seems like this was this was easier to explain somehow. I wish our WordPress material was like that.
Yeah.
Turn off the recording here.